Good evening. Good. Good evening. Welcome to the Syosset Council of PTA's 2023 Know Your Candidate Forum. My name is Maria Simonello, and I'm the chair of the annual District Election and Budget Vote Committee. The purpose of tonight's event is for the Syosset community to meet the candidates running for the 3 open seats on the Syosset School Board. I would like to thank the Nassau Region PTA for agreeing to moderate and timekeep our event. Welcome to Patricia Grenko, tonight's moderator, and June Ianella, who will be our timekeeper. Thank you to the candidates for joining us tonight and for agreeing to the rules of this forum. If anyone attending tonight's event would like to ask a question, please write it on an index card and pass it to one of the committee delegates located in the aisles. Questions submitted during the event will be given to our moderator. The selection of questions is at the discretion of our moderator. The event is being live streamed, and the link was sent out to all PTA members in the district, sent to community groups, and posted on the council's Facebook page. Before we start, just some important reminders. The budget hearing will take place prior to the May Board of Ed meeting on Monday, May 8th at 8 p.m. Also, on Monday, May 8th, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Southwoods is the final day for voter registration. Finally, the annual district election and budget vote takes place on Tuesday, May 16th. Polling locations are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Okay, Patricia, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the Syosset Council of PTAs for choosing Nassau Region to conduct their own Know Your Candidates Forum. As stated before, my name is Patricia Janko, and I'll be your moderator for this evening. And I'm being joined by June Anella, who's our timekeeper. Your candidates are Anna Levitan, Carol C. Chen, Susan Folkov, and Jevin George. Did I say that right, Jevin, sorry. Okay, I told you I was going to be a little messed up with that. Okay, the forum procedures for this evening. Opening statements. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for their opening statements. We will start with the following order in which the candidates are seated from right to left. The questions will rotate according to the seated order, starting with the second candidate, and will continue through the order. The second question will start then with the third candidate and will continue in such an order until the last question. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. The last question will be read at 8:15, and we are scheduled to conclude this forum at 8:30. Closing statements. The candidates will start the closing statement in the opposite order of their opening statements and continue in the reverse order. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their closing statements. The rules during the question and answer period. The moderator has sole jurisdiction over the proceedings once the forum has begun and has been turned over to me. Only residents of the Syosset School District can submit questions. Questions have been provided by the Syosset Council of PTAs and were sent to the candidates before the forum. In-person attendees can submit questions by using the index cards being provided this evening. Pose your questions directly. Questions will be screened by the moderator to avoid duplication, irrelevance, and otherwise non-answerable questions. Do not present views. Cross-discussion will not be permitted. All participants and attendees will exercise respect and civility. At any time, if there are outbursts or disruptions of the forum will stop and continue only when order has been reestablished. Absolutely no individual, teacher, staff, administrator, parent, or student's name may be mentioned at any time during the forum. No campaign literature may be distributed during the forum. No laptops, cell phones, or other devices may be used during this forum. No letters or statements from absentee candidates, and you're all here. We don't have to worry about that. The timekeeper will hold up signs when 1 minute, 30 seconds remain, and stop when time is up. Please note, as per federal and state laws, such as the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and others, the legally bar interviewers from asking questions about race, sex, sexual orientation, religion, age, national origin, marital status, or family matters. And if we're all good with that, audience and members, candidates, let us begin. And Anna, we're going to start with you first for your opening statements. You're going to have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the Syosset Council of PTAs for organizing this forum and for Nassau Region PTA for moderating. I'd like to thank everyone in attendance as well. I'd also like to thank my fellow board members, Susan and Carol, for their longtime commitment to serving this community, and to our new candidate, Jeevan, for willingness to do the same. I've lived in Syosset for 16 years. I have 3 children, 2 now in college, and 1 in high school. Prior to being elected to the Board of Education in 2017, I've been serving in various PTA capacities for 10 years and own an educational services business for 8 years here in Syosset. As one of the current board trustees speaking tonight, I'd like to highlight the improvements to our educational programs. The mission of our district, I had pleasure to help develop, is to prepare students to thrive in both the future we imagine and one which may evolve in ways yet to be envisioned. The statement illustrates that we are preparing students for a world in rapid change that will require them to be agile and empowered lifelong learners. To align with that philosophy, we've implemented several notable improvements and initiatives, including cross-cutting concepts in delivering curriculum, technology-enhanced instruction and technology application, and a more seamless and consistent K-12 curriculum alignment. We expanded our athletics programs and preserved the exceptional arts programs. On our special education front, we've been engaged in a multi-year process of migrating from a deficit-based approach to the needs of struggling learners to a new model of multi-tiered system of supports. Together as a district, and because of our extraordinary teachers and staff, we overcame what proved to be the most challenging public health crisis of our time. When the pandemic hit, we were able to pivot almost seamlessly, to remote instruction to preserve the quality education and avoid learning gaps. Not a lot of communities nationwide can say the same. As a board trustee of 6 years and as a parent of this district, I know firsthand what amazing opportunities our children are presented with here in Syosset. I also know our kids are in good hands when they enter the classrooms. They truly learn from the best. I also know that at home, they have full support of their families and community as a whole. I know this community is complex, intelligent, and diverse, which at times presents its own challenges, but we're ultimately here for one shared goal: to give our kids the best education possible, to build and maintain one of the most desirable places to live in. I pride myself on the ability to work well with others. I believe in the power of balance, compromise, and the ability to listen. I will be honored to continue serving this community as your school board trustee.
Thank you. Carol?
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Know Your Candidate Forum. I'm Carol Chang. I've been a Syosset resident for over 21 years and a parent of 3 children, currently in 10th grade, 12th grade, and 1 in college. We moved to Syosset because of its excellent public school system and diversity. I became an active PTA member in 2008 when my firstborn was a kindergartner at Village Elementary School. I have chaired numerous committees and became the PTA co-president at Village in 2013. I first ran for the board in 2017, knowing how much I could contribute to this community. I was reelected in 2020 to serve my 2nd term. Tonight, I'd like to share some of the work that the district has accomplished during our tenure on the board. With the support of the board, some of the accomplishments are facilities, energy performance contract and improvements to the school, including replacement of many roofs, air conditioning, filtering, solar panels, door upgrades, all new fire alarm systems, security vestibules, enclosed walkway at South Grove, parking and improvements at Walt Whitman, Berry Hill, and Bayless. All library upgrades. The final project will be the HPT library renovation. Science classrooms, turf field and lighting, additional tennis courts, and the high school fitness center. The list goes on and on. Fiscal responsibility. The board is constantly seeking efficiencies to remain sensitive to the tax burden on residents. The 23-24 school year tax levy increase of 2.99% is the 11th year in a row below the state allowed limit. The Phase 2 proposition vote was our first facilities bond vote in over 20 years. The district has structured the project through different combinations. We were able to perform over $90 million worth of work with the net borrowing of just $27 million and still keeping the tax levy under the cap. Moody's has given us the A81 rating, citing our strong tax base, manageable debt burden, and strong balanced operations. Diversity, equity, and inclusivity. The composition of our student has changed in the last few years. We now have a diverse student body, and it's important that all students and families feel that they are represented, valued, and supported in our learning community. Some of the benefits of having a diverse and inclusive community are creating a more welcoming and respectful environment, fostering innovation and creativity, and preparing the students to succeed in a diverse world. The DEI task force in Syosset consists of 5 subcommittees: restorative practices, student experience, community outreach, curriculum, and professional learning, as well as hiring practices. The task force has done some amazing work. All of these wouldn't have been possible to accomplish without the leadership of our wonderful superintendent, Dr. Rogers, staff, former and current board members, and the entire community. Now I would like to pass the mic to Ms. Falcove. She will speak about social emotional support in our district.
Susan?
Good evening. My name is Susan Falcove, and I've lived in Syosset for almost 19 years. I have 4 children, a 6th grader in Southwoods, a 9th and 11th grader in the high school, and a freshman in college. I want to thank the Syosset Council of PTAs and Nassau Region of PTAs for organizing Know Your Candidate. I'm a proud PTA member, having held many roles in the elementary, middle, and high schools, including president of Robbins Lane PTA. I am also highly involved in Midway Jewish Center, Hadassah, and Gold Ribbon Riders, which raises money for pediatric cancer research. I've also served as a board trustee for the last 3 years. Being an involved member of the community is essential to who I am. I also have a law degree and have an undergraduate degree in finance. Advocating for people is not only what I've been trained to do, but it's what motivates me. Over the last 3 years, I've truly loved being able to advocate for our community, and most especially the kids. The last 3 years have certainly been different than any period we have ever experienced. I'm extremely accessible and willing to listen to people. Because of this, people tend to feel very comfortable reaching out to me with issues their family may be facing. This feedback provides guidance on what is going on in the district and gives me direction as a board trustee. Anna and Carol have already discussed with you strides we have made with education, curriculum, fiscal responsibility, diversity, inclusivity, and facilities. I want to touch upon mental health. The last 3 years have been like no other, and many of our children, like so many adults, are suffering. The social emotional health of our students is something Syosset takes very seriously. We have added 4.5 social workers to our staff since 2021, and I'm so proud that starting next year, we will have a full-time social worker in every building. This additional staff allows the schools to focus on the increasing number of students who are in need of emotional support, whether in one-on-one meetings, group settings, or extra services. It also comes in the form of wellness days and meditation rooms. These are just a few of the ways that we are working on improving the mental health of our students. It is important for Syosset to be a leader in academics, sports, and all of our clubs, and also important to have emotionally healthy students. Students need to know that there are resources here to help them, and that when they leave, they are emotionally capable of handling all of life's curveballs. As a board, we have prioritized this. I believe a board trustee is a representative of the community. I've spent the last 3 years as a trustee to make community members feel heard. All students matter, whether you are a straight-A student or one who struggles, whether you are successfully socially or have a hard time. As a trustee, I have made sure to represent everybody. Syosset is a leading district in many ways, and it is my wish that it gets stronger for our community and our children.
Jeevan?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeevan George. First, I would like to take the time to thank the Syosset Council of PTAs for allowing us to be here and to meet all the candidates. I'm currently a senior at the high school, and I think that is one thing that sets me apart from everyone else. And it's being a senior in a high school and a member of the high school for the past 4 years that made me want to run. Getting to see the inside of the building and all the things that they're able to do for the students is something that I would like to make sure is able to happen for many years in the future. Since my freshman year, I've been involved in many different groups, organizations, and committees. Currently, I serve as the president of 2 different clubs. I'm in honor societies, I compete in varsity athletics, and it's all these programs that make Syosset what it is. Syosset isn't just a school that prides itself on just academics, just athletics, or just clubs. Over the past couple of years, we've had many student athletes go on to compete in various different levels. We've had students admitted into Ivy League and many other prestigious schools. With all this, you have to remember that what sets Syosset apart is not that we are good at one thing, but the students are able to do everything together. It's a culmination of everything that the parents, the students, and the staff do together. My goal, if I'm elected to the Board of Trustees, is to help make sure that the students are able to get every single opportunity to succeed in the district. There's many opportunities that were missed this year due to budget cuts, and I'm hoping that we can make sure that those kind of budget cuts do not happen again, and that we do not have budget issues, so that kids can make sure that anything that they want to do is done, whether it's field trips that were canceled, or if it's starting new clubs or groups, because these are many of the things that set Syosset apart. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Carol, we're going to start with you for question 1. I know that you all touched a little bit on this as you were giving your opening speech, but I'm going to ask, as Board of Education position is very important in our community, why are you running for the board, and what will you bring to the community?
I'm passionate about education and want to continue to serve our community that we have made a positive impact on during our time on the board, and want to continue that work. Additionally, there are still important issues and challenges that need to be addressed, such as facilities and safety for our staff and children, and I would want to be part of that process as well. I have a deep understanding of the district's history, policies, practices. These key factors can help me make informed decisions and provide continuity in leadership. I have also experienced working on specific issues such as facilities, DEI initiatives, and enhancing the resources available to students and teachers. These are just a few value adds for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan, do you need me to repeat the question, or? Okay.
Okay. I'm running for re-election to the Board of Ed because Syosset, the community, and the children and the people are all important to me. Improving Syosset is important to me. Being part of the community has always been who I am. I think my accessibility to the community, my willingness to help people in need, my PTA background, my financial and legal background have all helped me add value to Syosset. But I think the most important thing I bring is my inherent desire to improve everyone's situation and to always look for a solution that gets everyone what they need. We live in a diverse community with lots of different viewpoints and lots of different priorities, and my desire to do as much for as many people as I can is probably my biggest value added.
Thank you. Jeevan, do you need me to repeat the question? Or
No, I'm
you
good. Thank you.
Okay.
So the reason that I decided to run for Board of Ed is because I'm very proud to be a member of the Syosset community. I started in the district as a freshman in high school, and since then, I've immersed myself in everything. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, I've competed in varsity athletics. I've been a part of the clubs, the groups. I've been involved in many committees even that the Board of Education has had as a student. And I think that's the one thing that will allow me to really help the district is the fact that I have that student perspective. I've been in the district for 4 years, and I know what it's like to be a student in the district and that student perspective and what the students want and need in the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna?
Figured I'm too loud anyway. Sorry, can we start again? So this would be my third 3-year term if elected as a board trustee. I've been serving this community and our children in various PTA capacities for 10 years prior to being elected to the board. I signed up for the PTA committee at my first PTA meeting, and I haven't stopped since. My service on the school board was a natural transition in doing my part to better our kids' school experience and hopefully make a difference in their lives. I felt supported by this community. I never took the trust in me lightly. Any board member often faces making extremely difficult and unpopular decisions. However, when you know you are heard and supported, it makes your job easier. What I bring to the table is my ability to always respect varying opinions and positions, to come up with the most sensible and reasonable compromise, even when it seems impossible. I also have a very unique perspective on education from the other side of academic support and college preparedness.
Thank you. Okay, our next question, and I'm going to start with Susan. As a board member, how important do you feel communicating with the community is to promote transparency and understanding?
I think that transparency is extremely important. I think it's been a priority of the board. When I first moved to Syosset, there was not a whole lot of transparency and a whole lot of communication. And we've worked very hard to improve transparency and communication. And I think that there's always room for improvement, and that we can continue improving on our communication and transparency. But the community deserves to be heard, and they deserve to know what's going on. It's their community, and I feel that it's very important that the people in the community are aware of all of the amazing things that we're doing and all of the progress that we're making, and about all of the issues that we're facing, because we're a team. The community, the staff, the administration, the board, we're all on the same team and we're all on the same page. And the more that everybody knows, the greater chance of us all being on the same page.
Thank you. Jeevan?
I think that transparency is very important. I know that the district has been doing a lot over the past couple of years as far as different committees and different programs that they're trying to push. I think that when you're involved in those committees, you get to see the great work that they're doing, but sometimes from the outside, you don't get to see really the work that's being done, which is why there might be some issues. So I think that transparency is very important.
Thank you. Anna?
Yes, cannot agree more. And for those of you who've been in this district for a while, know that how different this district operated, and just the way things worked was completely different. For instance, comes to mind every Friday email that we get from our administration with updates what's going on in the district. This is something fairly recent and added for the purpose of communication and reporting back to you and the whole community, not just the parents, right? What has been done in this district, what the kids have been up to. We are always approachable as a board. The meetings are open to all. The emails are welcome. And I think by definition, as elected officials, obviously we are responsible and accountable to this community and the taxpayers and parents and every member of the community.
Carol?
All right, so it is extremely important to involve all stakeholders when it comes to communication. Since the 6 years that I've been on the board, some of the ways that the district communicate with the community are one click to send an email to all board members, and we all know that all board members at syossetschools.org can do that, and then it goes to all the board members. And then the monthly meeting has been, live streamed starting around just a few years ago. And then we have audience to public and monthly BOE meetings, and also the Syosset Pride, which everyone should have received in the mail already. And we also have the Dr. Rogers Friday updates. Those are the ways that the district and the board is trying to communicate with the community. And it is very important, that the school district can build that trust, increase understanding, and encourage feedback. And then this way that we can demonstrate the accountability to the community that we serve. And then we welcome all your feedback at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question, we're going to start with Jeevan. How do you view a school board member's role and responsibility, and how do you think that role differs from the role of the superintendent or administration?
So I believe that the role of a member of the Board of Education is one that is for the students, for the parents, and for the overall betterment of everyone who's being involved in the district. I think that the difference is that the superintendent simply looks at, okay, how can we make the best of what we have? I think it's up to the Board of Education to really make sure that the superintendent and the staff and all the administrators have the opportunity to make sure that they have the resources and everything else that's needed in order to make sure that Syosset can be the best it is.
Thank you. Anna?
Yes, so if you ask Google, so used to. So if you ask Google, the definition is very simple and straightforward, right? The local school board is responsible for employing the superintendent, developing and adopting policies, curriculum, and the budget, and overseeing facilities issues. What's important to remember, however, is that although we have all legal right to make decisions about the operation of the district, we generally leave day-to-day operation to professional educators. In other words, the board answers the question, what, and the administration the question, how. My favorite analogy that I like to use in this case is analogy with traveling by plane. We could tell the pilot where to go, but leave the job of flying the plane to the pilot, since none of us know how to fly the plane. So that's my quick analogy.
Thank you. Carol?
All right. A school board member's role and responsibility is to govern the school district in the best interest of students and the community. This involves setting policy, goals, direction of the district, overseeing the budget, hiring and evaluating the superintendent, and ensuring that the district is meeting its goals and objectives. And board members, we do not micromanage the administration and staff. The superintendent, on the other hand, is responsible for implementing the policies and directions set by the board and managing the day-to-day operation of the district. These are just some short answers of the differences between the two. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
The school board's role is very different than the superintendent's. While the superintendent is responsible for the day-to-day operations, the board is responsible for setting the direction that the school district should be headed. The board sets the policies and the goals for the district. It's not the board's role to get involved with the management of the teachers or the day-to-day operations. It's also important to note that the board functions as one unit. No person on the board has any authority or individual power. We always need a majority on the board to set anything in motion.
Thank you. Okay, our next question. Just double checking you all answered that question. Jeevan, you started that question, yes? Okay. So our next question is going to start with Anna. How do you plan to ensure that the district is allocating resources effectively and efficiently, especially when considering budget constraints and possible competing priorities?
Okay, so once again, this would be the 11th year in a row of tax increases below the state allowed limit. So we've been able to keep the budget under the tax cap for 11 years. The priority will always remain, in when we propose the budget, is to preserve our exceptional program. And I cannot stress it enough. We don't say it to sound great. It's the fact. That's why we're here. And therefore, despite of not being immune to inflation pressures and other outside factors, we've been able to present a very balanced and reasonable budget without compromising our programming. And that, at the end of the day, is our priority.
Thank you. Carol?
Okay, so we could prioritize spending on programs and services that are critical to student success and align with the district's goals and objectives. And Dr. Rufo spends an enormous amount of time coming up with the budget starting the beginning of the school year. And she's closely monitoring the budget plan, developing a comprehensive budget plan that takes into account all sources of revenue and sets clear priorities for the spending. For example, like Anna just said, all the programs, that's very, very important to our Syosset, and that sets Syosset the lighthouse district that no one else could have. And then we also monitoring the spending very closely to make sure that every dollar spent, every dollar that we spend on the taxpayers' money is very effectively and efficiently. And then other ways is to explore partnerships and collaborations for other opportunities to maximize the impact of resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
The priority will always be with maintaining, like Carol and Anna said, the priority will always be with maintaining all the programs and preserve what makes Syosset special. Most people move to Syosset because of all the opportunities and the academic excellence and everything that's offered to the students. And we will always prioritize what's most important. And we will always look for efficiencies in the budget to see how we always, in every year, what we can do to get the most out of the budget and where we can cut and where we can expand. And our priorities are always going to be the health and safety of the kids and making sure that the experience that they get in the school district is our number one priority.
Thank you. Jeevan?
I think like the other candidates mentioned, the most important thing with anything when you're considering it has to be the students. We have to make sure that we have to also worry about the taxpayers, but also the students. We have to find that perfect balance where we're not raising the taxes on the properties, but we're also not cutting down any programs that are helping these students get into these great schools or great programs, or really helping them in the future.
Thank you. Okay, our next question, we're going to start with Carol. We are one district. However, we have many schools within this big district. What are your thoughts on the inconsistencies from one school to another? An example would be the events, parental involvement. I'll answer. We are one district. However, we have many schools within the big district. What are your thoughts on the inconsistencies from one school to another? Example would be events, parental involvement.
Okay, that's a great question. So we are the board that's elected by the community, and we represent all the community. So when we speak on behalf of all 10 schools of all students in all 10 buildings. And every school is different. Every school's got its own culture, history, and the staff members. So it's very different, and we embrace that, and that's why we're calling this DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusivity. The way that we can do is that, in order to align the curriculum, the district has hired the K-12 coordinators for each subject, and furthermore, now we have the elementary special ed coordinator. We have the secondary already, but starting last year, we ordered that. That is to align all the schools so we have the same excellent Syosset education for all the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan, do you need me to repeat the question? Okay.
So I think it's very important that everybody has the same opportunities and accessibility at each school, and that we should provide similar things that everybody's equal, but that also has to be balanced against each school. Like Carol just said, that each school has its own personality and its own culture and its own traditions, and I think it's very important that we allow the schools freedom. We hire only the best, and they definitely need room to showcase their personalities and their strengths and their skills. So we definitely have to balance making sure that all of the parents have the same accessibility and that they all have equal access to the schools, but still allow the different schools to do things that are fun and go with their culture and go with the tradition of their school, so that all of the kids have the best experience possible and the parents have equal access.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeevan, do you need to read the question again?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So I'd like to start off with a phrase that my AP government teacher actually said, which is, we should be worrying about equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome, right? So what that means in this case is that we shouldn't be too worried about the fact that there are different events happening at different schools, or that there is different parental involvement, right? That's going to happen. What we have to make sure is that each student in each school has the same opportunities to succeed, the same opportunities for success. And that's what I hope we can do as a district, as the Board of Education, and as just a community in general.
Thank you. Anna?
Yes, so we're a large district, right? So we have 7 elementaries and 2 middles and 1 high. And actually, to echo what Carol has mentioned, there's a lot of work that has been done, including hiring the coordinators for that precise purpose, to make sure we're aligned, particularly on the curriculum front. Obviously, that's the main priority. When it comes to everything else, other events, so as particularly after school. It's definitely should reflect the culture of each school. However, the more the buildings communicate with each other, the more consistent the kids' experiences will be. The more the PTA units communicate with each other, the more consistent the experience will be. I think we'll all agree that we'll strive to achieve just that.
Thank you. Our next question, I'll start with Susan. Do you support a later start time for the high school? And if so, will you try to implement it by the next school year?
So whether or not the school changes for a later start time or not, I think it's very important that we get the community feedback, because it's everyone's community and everybody will be affected, whether it's elementary school, middle, high school. All the kids and all the parents and all the families would all be affected by that change in start time. And I think that being thoughtful about the process and making sure that the community feels heard, because people feel strongly both ways. There are people who are very, very adamant about starting, and there are people who are very adamant about not starting. And I think that when you do a process like this, it's so important that the community get to express their feelings, so that ultimately whatever is decided, they feel that they were part of the process and that they were able to express their feelings, and that if they get their way or they don't get their way, that they still feel heard. So we're on the board that we made a decision to continue getting community feedback in the fall. So once we have all the feedback, we'll be able to make a decision.
Thank you. Jeevan?
So I know very recently that there was a poll that went out, and I'd like to see what that poll says. But other than that, it's not as simple as just saying we wanted to start later in the day, because there is a lot of moving parts with that. Just 2 years ago, we had to cut a minute off of each period in the high school because of the busing conflict. There are still problems with busing, which is part of the reason why it's very difficult to get field trips out, because we need the buses. By pushing the start time later, it could be beneficial to students, but we also have to look at what the effects would be for other schools. It's not just an issue of the high school. By pushing for a later start time in the high school, that could affect the middle school and the elementary schools, as well as different trips and things that we do in the district. So we do also have to look at A, what the community says, and B, what the other effects would be if we do push for a later start time. Thank you.
Anna?
So 1 minute is definitely not enough to answer that question, but I'll try to be very concise. Someone used a different analogy. I happen to like a lot of analogies, and that would sound something like this. Do you like puppies? Yes. Would you like to adopt one? So I think we all want our kids to, go to sleep at a reasonable time, wake up rested, fresh, ready for school. It would be fabulous to have a later start time, obviously, but again, we have to go back to our community, and that's why, as you know, we're taking our time with this, because it's a complex issue, because the community have various opinions, and not only we should consider this community, we have to consider teachers, families, their commitments, their work arrangements. All people who work, busing is a huge issue in our district, just for logistical purposes. So it is a complex issue. The community feedback is important, and we'll consider all of it.
Thank you. Carol?
All right, so I won't repeat what everyone has just said, because there are just too many moving parts. And this definitely has been a topic of discussion since 2016, so it's been a very, very long time. And since we are involving so many families and so many students, like Anna said, and the staff members too, so the district is trying to be very thorough when making such decision, because this is a big decision to make. And that's why we are opening that line of communication to everyone. And we did it was actually our second time doing the thought process survey. And then there's going to be another one coming up in September. And it's not something that we can decide within months, because we have to build that into the budget for next school year if we are going to implement that in 2024. So this is definitely a very long process, and the district is definitely being very careful, very thoughtful, very thorough, in this process, and we encourage everyone to participate in that survey when it comes time in September when it's out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jeevan, we're going to start with you. Year after year, schools hold events such as Spirit Days, Halloween dress-up, etc. The idea is to be inclusive within the school community. However, it ends up excluding students when groups do group costumes and leave out others. What are your thoughts on creating a no group costume policy?
I think that, especially as a high school senior, one of the biggest things you see are groups of people who do dress up together. So I think it's very difficult to say not to dress up together, because it's very difficult to even police something like that. How do you know if it was coordinated or if it's just two people who happen to have the same costume? So that's one thing to look at. And the other thing is also the fact that it's an opportunity for everyone. There's really no there might be some exclusion. People might be felt left out, but that they're not stopped from wearing whatever costumes they want to wear. And I think a large part of being a spirited student in the Syosset district is you get to do whatever you want. If you want to wear the costumes, you can, but if you don't feel like it, you're not compelled to either.
Thank you. Anna?
Yes, so this actually comes up every now and then, and it's a difficult balance. You know, it's all about it's all about the balance, right? So we have to be sensitive to all children. We have to be sensitive to their individual, expressions, obviously, and social interaction, but we have to strive for the kids to kind of like come together as opposed to being more isolated. And, it's hard to do in this day and age, obviously, because social media kind of like change our lives, and so our role, as it pertains to us, as a community, as a school community, we have to really promote, sensitivity to others and, enjoying activities and enjoying experiences together as a community.
Thank you. Carol?
Okay, so as I mentioned in my opening statement, that we want our families to feel that they are represented, valued, and supported in our learning community. That includes students as well. So in this case, it is more important, instead of telling them that you can't dress up as something else, it is more important that we educate them to respect each other, to support each other, to see everyone, to accept them, instead of telling them what not to do. So it is important that it's coming from the district to educate these and that needs to continue education instead of just on the event basis.
Thank you. Susan?
So everybody who knows me knows that I'm very inclusive, and that anytime anybody's left out, it breaks my heart, and I always want everyone to be included. So I agree that we, as a community, we need to promote inclusivity and making and a community of kindness, and I think Syosset does a really good job of that. There's many ways that we can, do that. It's always difficult around Halloween time. Kids always do groups, and there's always kids who are left out. And I think the best way to combat that is to work on creating an even kinder environment, and to come up with different suggestions of class costumes or contests. There's all kinds of different ways that we can promote inclusion and kindness and accepting everybody for who they are, and making sure that the kids are always kind and inclusive as a goal and a community.
Thank you. Okay, this will be the last question of the evening. What do you see as the major issues facing Syosset School District? How would you address these issues, and what changes would you advocate to benefit the school and the community?
Can you repeat the last part?
Okay, I'm starting with Anna on this one. Do you need me to repeat the question? What do you see as the major issues facing Syosset School District? How would you address these issues, and what changes would you advocate for to benefit our schools and community?
Facilities, facilities, facilities. So again, 1 minute is not enough, but essentially all 10 of our buildings are aging gracefully and not so gracefully simultaneously. we're here to prioritize programs. Any significant improvement to our buildings, all 10 of them, because obviously we can't, beautify one and neglect the other, requires substantial funds. Most likely anything really substantial will require voters' approval. So therefore, we're already working on towards that goal. Every 5 years, every building is evaluated, and then it's the difficult task of what should be done first, second, third, prioritizing the capital improvements, facility improvements, based on the immediate urgency of the need.
Thank you. Carol?
Okay, I 100% echoing what Anna was said about the facilities. It's been a very, we need so much facilities work done, and even though we've done a lot. So I'm not going to go into greater details in facilities, and I do want to mention about pilot, and that's the payment in lieu of taxes. Companies, in our community, we are seeing more companies receiving property tax incentives through agreement with the government agencies. And then the amount paid is typically lower than what the company would have paid if it was taxed normally. And that's cutting our the revenue for the district. Another one is inflation. And then we have seen big inflations in the past, especially after COVID. And that's something that every school district is facing, including the pilot too. And that's something that the district would have to monitor our spending closely, and then come up with a very, very sensitive budgeting plan for the school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
If I had to pick a few things that were the major things facing Syosset, I would say that facilities, echoing what Carol and Anna said, the budget and the social emotional health of the children. Just to add with facilities, we have had an enormous population growth here in Syosset, which is wonderful because of Syosset's academic excellence and the offerings that we have. Syosset is extremely desirable, and so we've had a larger percentage of people moving here than in Nassau community as a whole. And I think addressing the bubble of students that's moving through is of utmost priority, and our facilities need to match our programs. And of course, the budget will obviously play into that, because being fiscally responsible and respectful to the taxpayers is always going to be a priority also. So I think managing the facilities versus the budget is going to be a huge priority for all of us.
Thank you. Jeevan?
I think that one of the biggest things that we have to make sure is that Syosset remains one places that is not a place for hate. There have been a lot of instances over the past couple of years that we have dealt with as a district. We have to make sure that instances like that don't happen again in the future by making sure that we are educating students not only on what has happened, but also on different cultures, different communities, and being able to kind of see everyone and make sure that they're treating each and every person with the dignity and respect that they deserve, because even though we want everyone to have equal opportunity, we want to make sure that everyone feels accepted and that no one feels like they don't belong in the Syosset community. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we begin the closing statements, I want to thank you all for demonstrating your civic responsibility by attending this event. I would like to thank the candidates and the audience for the respect you have shown throughout the evening. And I would like to thank Syosset Council of PTAs for hosting the Know Your Candidate Forum tonight, and for allowing Nassau Region PTA to conduct this forum. Your school budget vote for Syosset will take place on Tuesday, May 16th. I wish you all to have a good night and get home safe, and please don't forget to vote. We'll start our closing statements with Jiven first.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Once again, I'd like to thank the Syosset Council of PTAs for organizing this forum and for allowing me to speak along with my fellow candidates and the opportunity to answer all the questions that were asked today. I'd like to say I really appreciate everything that the district has been able to do for me in the past 4 years, and I'm hoping that I can give back to the community at least as much as it was able to give me. Thank you.
Susan?
Syosset is my home, and I care deeply about all of the people in it. Whether you are a student or a community member, it is important for Syosset to be the best it can be. I believe in transparency. The community deserves to know what is going on in its district. I also believe that we are here to represent everyone. It is important that every student, regardless of their strengths or challenges, be provided with the best opportunity to succeed. One of the special things about Syosset is its diversity. Our community is diverse in many ways, from the different cultures, religions, political beliefs, and so much more. Making Syosset a place of inclusion and appreciation for each other's differences is important to make everyone feel welcome and safe. There is no place for hate or discrimination of any kind. We have a lot of work to do with facilities, and we need to do it well, while being fiscally responsible. We live in a time where many of our community members are struggling, and we need to be aware of that and act accordingly. It is important to make sure that all of the wonderful things about Syosset, like our programming, are maintained, while making sure that our larger community is not unduly burdened. I have lived in Syosset for almost 2 decades. Whether it's from my extensive involvement in the PTA or one of my other community organizations, I have always looked for ways to better the community. As a trustee, I've served on the Finance Committee and the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, to name a few. I have spent time reading to our kids, attending school functions, touring our facilities, and meeting our wonderful teachers throughout the district. It is such an honor to be part of this board and this community. My law and finance background have served me well when I'm reviewing the budget and discussing options and coming up with solutions to make sure our kids have the best while maintaining fiscal responsibility. While there are difficult decisions heading our way, I'm confident with Carol, Anna, my experience, our extensive knowledge of the district and the community, we will continue to ensure that Syosset will get even stronger. I want to wish all the candidates good luck.
Thank you. Carol?
Okay. I would like to thank the Syosset Council PTAs and the Nassau Region PTA for their efforts this evening. As a current school board member and an incumbent seeking re-election, I'm deeply committed to ensuring that every student in our district has access to an excellent education. During my time on the board, I have worked tirelessly with administration, current and former board members to support our students and staff, and I'm proud of the progress we have made. I believe that my 6 years of board experience and knowledge of the issues facing our district make me uniquely qualified to continue serving on the board. I'm dedicated to promoting academic excellence, supporting our school's diversity and inclusion efforts, and advocating for the needs of students in all 10 buildings. If re-elected, I will continue to listen to the concerns and ideas of parents, teachers, and community members, and work collaboratively to make our schools the best they can be. I'm honored to have the opportunity to serve our district, and I ask for your support in the upcoming May 16th election. Together with my running mates, Ms. Levitan and Ms. Falco, we have a combined 15 years of experience as trustees. We are confident that we can continue to build a brighter future for our students in our community. I would also like to wish Mr. George the best of luck. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you. Anna?
Our world has changed drastically since I was elected first in 2017. It has become a lot more complex, interconnected, and volatile. The rate with which it accelerates is intimidating and challenging. COVID has qualitatively changed the way we live, work, think, and learn. However, some things remain constant. The children of today are the leaders of tomorrow. The children we're educating today will be making decisions affecting us all. As today leaders, we could either resist and question the new reality or embrace it and rise up to the challenge. It is our job to lead by example. As your elected school board trustees, we're responsible for what the district does today and where it's heading tomorrow. Like all of you, we want what is best for our children and our neighbors who own homes in this district by keeping the outstanding achievements of our schools in the most fiscally responsible way. I'm passionate about this district and fiercely independent. I'm not beholden to anyone except to our children, the taxpayers, and my conscience. My education services experience gave me a unique perspective on the state of our education in Syosset and beyond. I've been serving this community in various capacities for the past 16 years. I've been dedicated school board member for the past 6. The trust this community put in me is something I don't take lightly and something I had to earn. My record speaks for itself. I am a tireless advocate for our children and sensitive to concerns of the entire Syosset community. Your vote will enable me to continue to serve all of our community with the same boundless energy, passion, and dedication that I had when my oldest child, now graduating college, entered kindergarten. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your continued support. Thank you, PTA, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck to you all, and have a good night.